obviously as time moves by, time becomes currency. Brands need to move a lot more quicker. Decisions need to be made a lot more quicker.
This is Advertising in Africa with Dele Udugbemi on Africa Business Radio.
Welcome to another episode of Advertising in Africa with me, Dele Udugbemi. Today I have two of my best friends who we've done a lot of work together and we've kept in touch right after. They have been a source of inspiration to me in all the work we've done when we worked together, and also been inspired by the work they had done by themselves in the career they've gone on to have since we've met. So very happy to introduce you to two of my friends. Like I said, one is Mohammed Paruk, who is based in South Africa, and the other is also Wandisile Nkabinde, who is also based in South Africa. And the two of them have, in the course of all my interaction, as I said, have been sources of inspiration to me. So I'll let them introduce themselves, starting with Mohammed, that maybe we could hear a bit about your background, just to let the audience know what your skill set is.
Hi, Dele. Hi, everyone. So I'm Mohammed. I work on the trading team and at the trading desk at GroupM in South Africa. And predominantly, I think in the last 2-3 years, we're just busy putting deals together and sort of driving better value for a lot of our clients out there. And it's been an interesting ride, I must say.
Great. Wandi?
Hi, everyone. Thanks, Dele, for having us. So I'm Wandisile. I am the head of media and digital marketing for MultiChoice South Africa. So basically, my background has been paid media across both above the line as well as digital. So at the moment, I'm leading a team in terms of spearheading digital expertise, for the MultiChoice business, especially for the direction that we're taking. I am caretaking SA. We do have another peer of mine who looks after the rest of Africa. And I'm looking forward to having this conversation with you guys.
Great. Thanks, that's a perfect intro. So today's topic is programmatic because it is topical. And I thought that the two of you were best suited to join me on this conversation so as not to make it technical, because I think that it's been almost put out there like it was this nerdy term that everyone kind of needed to just toe the line and follow. Look, we used to buy offline before, now we buy programmatically, and it's just been this highfalutin, big word buzz as advertising tends to be. And I thought maybe today we could try to demystify it. And I said you guys were perfect because we're all kind of media professional, but also because it will impact you on different sides. Wandi being on the client side and Mohammed being on the trading desk, putting deals together on behalf of agencies for clients to make campaigns cost efficient. So I was just very interested in that, and almost like I could moderate between the two of you because it's virtually two worlds. So the marketplace is what programmatic is in my view, and you could correct me if I'm wrong. It's a marketplace that is getting automated versus the physical trading mechanism that we kind of used to have, is my simplest way of jumping into it as a topic. So starting with Mo, what is it to you, and on the agency side, why are we looking forward to it?
Yeah, I think, Dele, if we had to unpack it just a little bit more, like you quite correctly said, on the offline side, ordinarily when we are buying it, the terminology we use down here in South Africa is more around, cherry picking, loose spots, that kind of thing, where you want to be in a specific environment, specific program, whatever it is. As we move out of that world into this programmatic world, it's more about optimizing cost efficiencies, algorithms and other tools taking over those type of responsibilities on behalf of us, obviously with our guidance, in order to ensure that we're meeting the campaign and the client deliveries. but the manner in which you go about it is just a little bit different to the older, what I would term, traditional way of doing things. I don't think it's something that anybody needs to be intimidated about. I think it's once you sort of sink your teeth into it and you start understanding how it works, you understand where the tweaks need to be made in order to drive that cost efficiency and KPI for client. But overall, I think we're seeing a very different dynamic, from viewership patterns. I think we're seeing a lot more people, the terminology is cable cutters, and sort of moving into more video on demand type of space. There's a lot more players in the market today than there were 12 months ago. And these are all the type of considerations I think we need to be cognizant of as we look towards the future.
Okay. And Wandi, your view?
Yeah, I mean, to build off what, Mohammed is saying, I think even if I took a step back, it's not new, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, Google first started rolling it out, I think 2013, 2014, somewhere there, right? So it's not something new, but is it something that, that's current and that's going into the future, or 110%, And, you get these questions a lot of time from my internal stakeholders, in terms of how would you define it. And it's exactly what you said, Dele. It is an automated way of buying and selling in its simplest form, right? And, in another simpler form is, we all know that back in the days, as a strategist or as a brand, you'd have to approach each and every publisher, to sort of like ask what an inventory they have or advertising space, if I can use sort of like layman's terms, and you'd actually buy it, And obviously as time moves by, time becomes currency. Brands need to move a lot more quicker. Decisions need to be made a lot more quicker. We're under pressure from a budget point of view, if MultiChoice as a group is not doing well, or a business, what I've seen is that, the support structures like your marketing tends to suffer because we're the ones that normally have to cut the budget first. However, the KPIs don't change. If there's a certain number of sales you need to deliver on for the business, that doesn't change, but your budget gets lesser, which has opened up platforms like Programmatic, where we used to pay, for example, even 500 rands. I'm not too sure you can convert that in dollars, but we'd pay like 500 rand, cost per 1,000 impressions, which you can say maybe cost per 1,000 eyeballs, is the term I normally use. But now I've got campaigns that run for as low as 30 rand, cost per 1,000 eyeballs or impressions, so to speak. So it has opened up an avenue, to be a bit more cost effective in running some of our campaigns.
That's an interesting dimension. So on the client side, you could see the value from the media availability that this automation brings could drive costs down. And the flip side of that is if agencies still earn based on media volume, and programmatic or automation is a way to try and bring costs down, Mohammed, how does the agency earn? Doesn't this impact on the agency business directly?
Yes, it does, Delia. And I think that's probably one of the biggest challenges in 2021 currently is how do we navigate through this new way of working. I think to Wandi's point, budgets are getting smaller and smaller. I suppose the pandemic's slightly to blame for that, not particularly, but I mean, even in a pre-COVID environment, we were always expected to do a lot more with less money. We've taken on that challenge quite bravely. I do think there will be going forward a lot more fragmentation in the market from a viewership perspective. And it's about just us analyzing the data a little bit more better to understand where the eyeballs are moving to. And that's perhaps where we'd have to place a little bit more of the investment into. So essentially, you're just moving money around from one place to another in order to reach the right audiences. But it's definitely a challenge that we're looking forward to.
Here's my challenge, and this reflects more the rest of the continent than it does South Africa. South Africa is a relatively structured media market where, for example, Nigeria has got 134 TV stations, and South Africa has got effectively one state station, well, a state station with a lot of channels, ETV, and we could say the MultiChoice group. So you're looking at three entities that drive that business. Therefore, in Nigeria, you're looking at 134 entities that drive that industry, which automatically drives cost down. Well, it drives price down because they're all competing for marketing dollars. So price goes down. Whereas when you have three, there can be better outlook on what pricing can be. So the average TV spot in South Africa is about 10 times more expensive than the average TV spot in Lagos. So because of that sheer inventory availability, it already has driven the price in Lagos down relative to South Africa, as I just explained. And when you're now playing in that scenario and you bring this automation into it as the basis of determining, in some extent, the inventory you want to cherry pick, because, it's down to performance, it's down to, the audience delivery and performance media and all of that. How does the business grow? That is like in Lagos, they don't have public power to drive their business, which means they invest in generators, they run diesel. So cost of operation is high, but price is already low because of the nature of competition. And you stretch that into South Africa where, there are ESCOM challenges now, but still for the most part you're using public power, so where cost might be relatively down, but yet price is relatively high just by the nature of their competitive space. So how does one kind of try to take care of that, where there's still an industry to develop? Because in my view, the Nigerian industry still needs to develop further, but you now are bringing in this system into it that almost assumes it's reached maturity, and when you're then driving cost efficiencies, then costs continue to keep being low, a price rather, continue to keep being low, even when their cost is high. How do we try to balance that? It's probably still a question that skews more to Mohammed, but I would let Wandi give it a go first.
It's an interesting question, right? Because, I know a few years ago, there were conversations in terms of how, can programmatic be delivered on linear TV, right? And obviously there hasn't been too many developments on that, and especially from an African sort of like point of view. I know there were some tests being done, in London, mainly in the EU area, but there hasn't been quite a lot. However, where you're starting to see it is on out of home in the South African perspective, where, I can choose my ads to fly, digital out of home specifically.
Yep.
Where I can choose my ads to flight at certain, conditions, right? So if maybe certain programs on TV are trending on Twitter and those platforms, my ads get served and they flight on digital screens. So it's not a traditional buy where, I would partner with the JCT core and the guys would flight it, at a certain frequency throughout the day. It would instead be a buy where, if the weather it's hot, KFC, it makes a deal with you guys that you only start flighting when the weather is hot, or you just only flight coffee when it's cold. Yeah. But if it's in between, you're not flighting the ads, which does put the media owner a bit under pressure. And then if there's any trade deals for Mohammed with that specific media owner, it also puts them under a lot of pressure. Yeah. Me as a client, it suits me 100%, perfectly, if such a thing sort of like happens.
Yeah.
Where I also see a threat coming as well is online streaming. We know that with your Netflix and Amazon Prime, Hulu, there's quite a lot of them that are coming into the market. And, these platforms are developing sophistication where they're starting to understand their audiences a bit more and their behavior. And we will eventually get ourselves in a place where advertising, even online streaming, should they start offering it, will be catered for whatever your behavior is. If I'm mainly consuming sports content, advertisers will say, okay, cool, DSTV, I want to target people that are just streaming sports, because you do have those data sets now. And, with streaming, it has less complexities. It will put, for example, DSTV media sales under a lot of pressure, from a profitability point of view, if we had to get into that space.
Great, Mo?
Yeah, I tend to agree with a lot of what Wandisile said. I think, with the amount of players that are coming into the market, particularly on video on demand, it's not a case of if, but a case of when these video on demand broadcasters eventually start offering advertising on all of their platforms, even if it's subscription-based platforms, whether it's Netflix or whatever it is. And I think, to answer your question, Dele, that will potentially be partially the solution towards keeping those prices more realistic, more cost-efficient for our clients. It will help drive better efficiencies, hopefully. I think the other thing is adaptability. I think we've got to be far more adaptable and fluid in today's world than we were even, 24 months ago, where if you need to put something up on a digital billboard tomorrow, we've got to be able to do it, and we can do it in this day and age. So, there's so many moving parts that it makes it very exciting as to what the potential is, both from a strategic point of view and both from what our offerings is to a client from a full 360. Yeah. Definitely interesting times ahead.
I guess the dilemma, guys, is that on the one hand, you want to move with the world, you want to match offering, and you see pitches are done on a global basis now where there's just one standard that kind of is supposed to work across the different continents. But the more I look at that, I get the regional or global rather pitches. I have no problem with that. I just have a bit of a problem with implementing, things that might not suit the developmental growth of different regions. So Africa is behind. I'm with you guys on we need to match up in terms of service offering, where the fact that you could buy day part on an outdoor, platform, for example, makes sense. Yes, fine. Maybe it's cost efficient where you're quite deliberate. It's only when your audience would consume that you put it out there, so that you could reason with that. That kind of makes sense. But what I don't know is if the media owners are to be compensated enough for that. I think that's just the flip of it, because again, you are now not just comparing when you're thinking cost efficiencies. You're not just comparing outdoor cost versus outdoor cost. You're comparing outdoor cost versus the possible cost of running that on a digital platform. If you are thinking that way, the digital platform doesn't have the infrastructural cost that the outdoor platform has. And I think it's that flexibility that has to be built into. I think I'm just worried more about the pricing, particularly when we're making decisions that, look, my campaign objective is X. This is what I'm going to deliver. If Facebook can do that for me, I might as well, because I'm just after my metrics and all of that. I'm thinking, because of the underdevelopment in Africa, there might be the need to find some sort of balance. Programmatic is the future. It's practically the present. It's the way to go. Our media channels are underdeveloped, and therefore, given the example Wendy gave, we can't still do linear TV yet. So there might be like a gradual rollout. With digital, it's relatively easy to deliver because they plug in. But with the more traditional, more like a journey to it, carry people along so that people don't lose their jobs and those kind of things. So if we were to put a time scale to this, guys, starting with you, Wendy, when do you foresee a media industry in Africa where traditional plus non-traditional channel will be all on the programmatic platform?
I think it's going to take a bit of time, because, even though on digital it's there at the moment, there's still quite a lot of questions about it, to be honest with you, because not everyone is doing it right nonetheless. So if it's not 100% watertight within the digital platform, you can only wonder how it's going to look like, on traditional platforms as well, right? And you've made interesting points around, sort of like running the business, as well, compared to, clients trying to pay less and less and less, It is also us advertisers' responsibility to try save and understand the industry, right? I know in SA there were a few initiatives when I was at Nedbank where, the guys deliberately started to put together a plan to support small to medium sort of like entities, media owners across, right? Okay. Including out of home, okay, and including other platform, even within the digital space, in terms of at least having a certain level of budget to support those guys. Okay. And some of the guys that I've seen doing quite well are guys that, expand their offering, and sell some stuff that are out of scope. Especially now during COVID, there's a lot more questions than answers. My question to guys is, are we still doing media the right way? In the context of how things are at the moment, right? And, when there's things that are out of scope, there's ad testing as an example. We always complain maybe to ad agencies that your ad is full of copy and so forth. But I've seen other media owners that are offering, ad testing from the distance, maybe like 200 meters away to up to 100 to 50, so that CMOs can get to see, how their ads sort of like look like from a distance. And some advertisers are willing to pay for that level of insight a lot of the times. So I think media owners do have to build quite a strong relationship specifically with direct clients in certain times, because, at direct clients, sometimes you don't have the relationship with media owners, so you don't know the challenges. It's only when those conversations happen where we can find common ground.
Good thought. Mohammed?
Yeah, Dele, getting back to the question at hand, it's more around where do we see the fusion between linear and non-linear. Yeah. And I think it's a lot more complicated than we think. The way data is reported, the way the analytics, the software, the tools, you're quite correct, the infrastructure, it costs money. It's not a simple solution. And we certainly haven't seen anything in our market or anywhere on the African continent that's led us to believe that we're going to get there anytime soon. I think it's quite a long journey ahead. One of the challenges we currently have in South Africa is a lot of these video on demand, faculties are not reported in the conventional software tools that we would use, whether it's a Telma or Oriana or that kind of thing. And one might think, well, actually, how hard can that be? But it's actually quite challenging.
Oh, sure.
Even from a MultiChoice perspective, they would have their own internal challenges around how do they report their VOD versus their linear. And there isn't one simple solution. When we take digital out of home, I think there's massive potential, absolutely massive potential. There's a lot more interest from clients. I think from a revenue perspective for the media owner, you can practically run that digital out-of-home board like a television station.
TV,
Yeah, you can sell to McDonald's in the morning for breakfast drive time and sell to KFC in the late afternoon for dinner or whatever it is. So as an industry, I think we've got to come together and look for solutions and partner up so that all the stakeholders benefit equally. That includes the media owners. The client's got to be able to meet whatever objectives they have, and media agencies as the in-between has to be that conduit to make sure that everybody comes to the table and we're all working in the same direction. Without doubt, there's definitely significant challenges, not just on the African continent, even within South Africa alone, where you quite correctly said we are slightly more structured than a few of the other markets, and we're finding these challenges. We can't just go and take what's going on in North America, New York or London, for example, and just paint it here in South Africa or the rest of the African continent. It's not going to work. Yeah. The dynamics, the macroeconomic environment, and all of the different moving parts within our economies in Africa are a lot more different to Europe or Americas. So we've got to be able to find our own solutions that cater for our own challenges and sort of forge a way forward in a manner that works for us.
Great. So just like with measurements, the way that's evolved, when we only had the traditional, we were more focused reach and frequency and with digital, you now have all of the CPMs and other more intricate means of measurement that drive more towards engagement. I quite get the transactional side, which is that the marketplace kind of also needs its own evolution, if you like. You have algorithms, you have artificial intelligence, and all of this coming together to create an ecosystem that is better, without a doubt. It's definitely going to be more cost efficient without. So we could see the benefits. When you do a cost benefit analysis, it actually points more to programmatic should happen. I suppose what we're advocating for is to recognize Africa's journey to then understand that adoption would then take time. So I wouldn't have asked for a better team to come and share this point of view with me. I'm really so grateful for your time, guys. It is a topic that would keep, pretty much like people will keep talking about, so it's quite topical. So I'm sure there will be a time when we would maybe gather again to talk about this and maybe in a much more deeper way. But I'm so grateful for your analysis, for you guys clearing up a couple of things, because what you guys have said is I can still keep my job for a while. So I'm quite grateful for that. So if people want to follow you, Wandi, on LinkedIn, how can they find you?
No. They can't find me on LinkedIn.
Yeah,
but they can find me on every other platform under Wandisile Nkabinde.
Great. Mohammed, where can they find you?
Definitely find me on LinkedIn under Mohammed Paruk, GroupM, Sub-Saharan Africa. You'll definitely find me there. Thanks.
Great. And me, I can be found on LinkedIn as Dele Odubemi. Guys, again, I thank you very much for your time. This has been a wonderful session. I look forward to having you on another time.
Thanks, Dele.
All right.
Thanks, Mohammed.
Thanks, Dele. Appreciate you having us on the show.
Thanks, guys.
It's good.
It's been really wonderful. Thanks. Take care. Bye-bye.